Modern businesses are producing more output right now than at any point in human history. It is faster, cleaner, and extremely articulate. But beneath this massive surge of sophisticated production lies an uncomfortable truth. Almost everything we are creating today is structurally identical. We have entered a state of deceptive monotony. On the surface, the final deliverables look entirely different from one another. But underneath, they are built on the exact same cognitive foundation. Think of a modern suburban development. Look closely at this neighborhood. Every single home has uniquely painted walls, distinctly pitched roofs, and highly customized landscaping. To the naked eye, each property feels entirely bespoke. This animated diagram reveals what happens when we strip away the cosmetic choices. The structural floor plan and the foundation of every single house sit on a mathematically identical wireframe grid. The variation is only skin deep. Corporate operations are functioning exactly like this housing development. We evaluate our outputs by looking at the wrong layer. We judge the aesthetic variations, the words, the visuals, the speed of delivery, while completely ignoring the fact that the underlying structural logic is identical across the board. We are doing this because we have started outsourcing the actual thinking process to machines, while retaining ownership of the final output. By doing so, we are confusing pure surface-level efficiency with true intelligence. Machines do not think, they process. AI models are simply statistical engines designed to optimize for probability, recognize historical patterns, and adhere to established precedent. Because they operate on historical statistics, these systems are exceptionally good at producing endless variations in expression, but they are entirely incapable of generating variation in original thought. You can see this clearly in corporate consulting. Imagine a bank, a retail chain, and a healthcare provider all asking an AI-powered system to generate a bespoke strategic roadmap tailored for their specific industry. This flowchart shows the results. The bank is told to build a unified CX platform. CX stands for customer experience, referring to how a business engages with its customers. The retailer is advised to leverage data for personalization, and the healthcare provider receives a plan to digitize the patient experience through a centralized ecosystem. The words are perfectly tailored to each sector, but watch what happens to those distinct clusters. Beneath the industry-specific jargon, the operational roadmap for all three entities collapses into the exact same linear path: discover, design, deploy. And their goals all share the exact same KPIs. A KPI, or key performance indicator, is a quantifiable measure a company uses to gauge its performance. These identical metrics include pushing NPS up, NPS being a net promoter score that measures customer loyalty, increasing conversion rates, and driving costs down. When highly customized business strategies run on the exact same cognitive layer, the thinking is merely recycled. Adopting recycled logic actively destroys actual market differentiation. This exact pattern is playing out in customer support. AI systems now respond to complex queries instantly, deploying varied language and perfectly mimicking human empathy to make sure the user feels acknowledged. But that empathy lacks actual understanding. When a customer presents a complex edge case, the system forcefully categorizes their unique problem into rigid, pre-structured resolution buckets, rather than adapting to the nuance of the situation. In marketing, brands appear to publish thousands of fresh articles and posts daily. Yet the hooks and narratives are entirely derivative, aggregated strictly from proven engagement patterns rather than originating from a new idea. Even digital product design and UX have been flattened. UX stands for user experience, which dictates how a person interacts with a digital application. Software today is incredibly seamless, cleanly structured, and fully compliant with every established user experience best practice. This UX diagram highlights the cost of that compliance. The application rapidly swaps through distinct color palettes and varying block shapes, but the underlying grid structure and user navigation arrows remain entirely rigid and static. By optimizing exclusively to remove standardized user friction and hit standard engagement metrics, usability certainly improves, but it creates a digital environment where every single brand feels completely indistinguishable from its competitors. The actual strategic risk here is hidden beneath the guise of efficiency. When organizations over-index on raw processing power, they slowly lose their internal capacity to think independently. We need to correct the division of labor. Machines are incredibly powerful tools, and they should completely own the processing. But humans must retain ownership of the thinking. Right now, a subtle behavioral shift is taking hold inside modern companies. People are no longer constructing thoughts from scratch. They are simply reviewing and approving the outputs generated by machines. Are you still actively thinking through problems, or are you just approving what a machine has already decided? Adopting AI for maximum economic impact is absolutely necessary, but to ensure your business remains genuinely distinct, that processing scale must be paired with original human judgment. We live in a world that is quickly drowning in infinite, mathematically identical output. The moment everything starts to look perfectly acceptable is the moment you should question whether anything is truly original. Safeguarding your distinct cognitive blueprint is the only real competitive advantage you have left.